Hello, my name is Kate Jones, and I'm going to present to you about leading with a moral compass. So, this week's assignment had us focus on a couple of different articles that explains what a moral compass is and how we can best use our moral compass in leadership positions. The article by Mintz just discussed a lot about having your heart in the right place, being there for other people, and doing your best to apply ethical decision making to our own processing. So it's important to not just say that we're leading with ethical leadership ideas, but instead we are reflecting on what that actually means and what our moral compass actually is. So a lot of it really just comes down to treating others as equals, not just being tolerant of other differences, and also striving to improve the lives of others. The Vanderwalt article, which was one of the longer ones, talks about the new social contract in the context of citizenship education. Um, it's looking at the possibility of a generalized citizenship education program among diverse groups, right? Because the whole idea is that diverse groups have different things that are important to them, right? And based on people's individual ideas and individual pasts, then you have separate moral compasses. So, how is it possible to kind of have this citizenship education when people look at this very differently? So, the idea that comes up here is that in order to build a social contract using a moral compass, people need to be able to see themselves in others. So it can't just be about empathy, feeling for others in your situation, but instead being able to see why other people are making the choices that they do. And really, the whole idea of a new social contract and citizenship education is dependent on a clear understanding of what's right and wrong, and it should be able to appeal to moral imagination, understanding why other people do the things that they do. And really, it should focus on what a person could become and encouraging flourishing of all. In the Orchard article, it defines a moral compass as a clear picture of mental processes that point a person in a particular direction. And also clarifies the fact that not all moral compasses are the same. People will view their moral compasses differently based on their backgrounds, based on their perspectives. Immorality has always existed, right? But because we live in a time where information is shared so easily and so readily, we're more aware of immoral behavior. A lot of this comes down to what is going on in the world and how aware we are of it. Um, Availability of knowledge and religion are two of the things that greatly affect individuals' moral compasses. However, Orchard argues that people reject True North, or even knowing what True North is, because it has the ability to interfere with their lifestyle. So people are likely to ignore what's right and wrong if it can hurt the way that they're living at this moment. So consider growth, right? That maybe when you were in your teen years, you might have viewed things much differently than you are now. I know, looking at my own past at 41, my moral compass at this age is much different than it was 10 years and 20 years ago. Our moral compass, here, this article by Wood says that moral compass is a set of personal values that guide our decision making. So we see this across all of the articles, that personal values toward decision making really are what's important here. But also in this article, we see the same idea that it's developed through our lives and experiences, and that people will ignore core values and they'll ignore them because of the difficult short term side effects. So maybe in a situation where somebody cheated on an exam or somebody helped someone cheat on the exam, maybe you might not be calling them out on it because of the fact that it will have there'll be a lot of paperwork, or it could be that you're going to have to deal with difficult parents. Ignoring that is, morally corruptible in this idea. But also that your empathy may inspire you to look away. The fact that you can understand it. Okay, listen, I get it. I had a really hard time in math as well, or my best friend struggled with math, so I let them cheat off of me. Maybe the fact that you feel um, empathy and kindness towards these people can also make you a little bit more hesitant towards your moral compass. And maybe there's a benefit to ignoring your values. Maybe it's a monetary benefit. Maybe it's a career benefit. Whatever it is, the idea of a moral compass is still important, and making ethical decisions should be based on the analysis of the consequences and actions. In the Zitzman article, it talks about what is a moral compass again and why we need one. Again, the idea here is that a moral compass helps ground your identity, protect the greater good, increase self confidence, be a good role model, and foster healthy relationships. Um, it is This article in particular focused on the need to reflect on your moral compass in order to actually use it, right? They mention the same thing that's mentioned earlier. People believe that morality is on the decline, right? Even though it's probably just that we're more aware of moral ambiguity. By analyzing which values are more important, though, you can guide your behavior to support those values. And I think that this article in particular was very useful for me, because it made me you know what a moral compass is, but this kind of reiterated the importance of reflecting on it, and I found that very useful. A sound moral compass helps balance your needs with what is right for you and others. So, this idea that we are able to follow our moral compass, and by looking at that moral compass, reflecting on how it can best help us and help others. In the Matthiasen article, again one of the longer ones, it talks about encountering the stranger, and really it focuses on empathy and how empathy can sometimes get in the way of our moral compass, right? Because if we look at everything with empathy, we're more likely to feel the emotions of others, and that could kind of get in the way of us focusing on our moral compass. So if someone is doing something wrong for a good reason, we might ignore our moral compass, because we can understand that. Empathy is important, though. I mean, it is important to have empathy. It's just when you think about empathy, um, don't let it get in the way of what is truly right. Empathy is biased. Empathy is self-centered in its own way. Consider me as a 41-year-old mother. I may feel empathy towards other mothers who are in difficult situations. I might feel more empathy toward working mothers, because of who I am in my situation. Again, I can see that bias, so I understand where the article is coming from. Instead, they say to visit the other, come to terms with the world and learning to live in it, and strive to teach understanding more than just empathy. So, with all of this in mind, I made my own kind of rudimentary moral compass here. Sorry, it's not prettier. I'm really not that great at this, but um, the things that I find very important are personal responsibility, kindness, integrity. I also have a great need for resilience, so people being able to kind of pick up pick themselves up by their bootstraps and move on. Um, Fairness, and equity. I have these on different sides, but and they are kind of related to each other. But the idea of fairness and equity, striving to make sure that everyone is viewed in the same way and receiving the same amount of resources. Honesty. I believe that it is important to be honest in almost every situation, and also family. I think that as a school leader, it is important that we are considering our own families, as well as how people are considering their families. Uh, with that in mind, I kind of thought about my own personal reflection and how I'm going to move forward with this. A lot of it comes down to being the best version of ourselves, and considering what's important to us and making these decisions. For me personally, the importance of family. Convinced me to make some serious career moves, in order to be more present for my children and try to decrease the stress in my life. So I can attest to the importance of looking uh, at your moral compass and thinking about what's important. Thank you so much.